Rebecca stood before the bedroom mirror, her eyes gleaming with a cold intensity. As she gazed at her reflection, a slow, sinister smile coiled across her lips. This was no longer the face of the innocent woman she once was. This was the face of someone who had embraced the darkness within. Her finger traced the edges of the mirror as she leaned in closer. Her voice barely more than a whisper as she recited the mantra that has become her ritual, her vow of vengeance. Tonight, I will take another soul. She closed her eyes, the mantra grounding her, sharpening her focus as she prepared to step into the night. A night where another man would fall victim to the wrath she had vowed to unleash. Rebecca has always believed in love, the kind that is eternal, unwavering, the kind her parents had. She grew up in a home filled with warmth and affection, where love was the glue that held everything together. It was a love that spoke without words, a silent understanding that passed between her parents in every glance. Rebecca carried this ideal with her, like a precious heirloom, certain that one day she too would found a love as pure and enduring. When she met Michael, it was like stepping into a dream. He was everything she had imagined her future husband would be. Kind, attentive, and most importantly, he adored her. Their relationship blossomed quickly, filled with laughters, shared dreams, and the kind of deep connection that made Rebecca believe she had finally found her forever. It wasn't long before Michael proposed. The day was perfect, just like everything else in their relationship. Under a canopy of stars, he knelt before her, holding out a ring that seemed to sparkle with the promise of a lifetime together. Tears welled in Rebecca's eyes as she said yes, her heart swelling with a joy so profound it was almost overwhelming. They set the date for the wedding, a month from now. It was going to be a small, intimate affair, just close families and friends. Rebecca threw herself into the wedding preparations with all the enthusiasm of a woman who knew she was about to embark on the most beautiful journey of her life. She chose the dress, the flowers, the venue, each decision made with the image of the life she and Michael would build together in mind. She couldn't wait to become his wife, to start their life together as husband and wife. Everything was perfect until it wasn't. One afternoon, just a few weeks before the wedding, Rebecca borrowed Michael's phone to check the time while hers was charging in another room. A message notification popped up on the screen, a name she didn't recognize, followed by words that made her blood run cold. Her hands trembled as she opened the message thread, her heart pounding in her chest. What she saw shattered her world in an instant. Michael had been unfaithful. The messages were clear, explicit, filled with promises and plans that had nothing to do with her. Rebecca felt like she couldn't breathe. The man she was about to marry, the man she had trusted with her entire heart, had betrayed her in the worst possible way. Their perfect future, the one she had been so excited to start, was nothing but a lie. Confronting Michael was a nightmare she never thought she would have to face. She had rehearsed the confrontation in her mind 100 times in the moments leading up to it, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality. Michael's face fell when he saw the messages on his phone, and he didn't even try to deny it. He stammered out apologies, excuses that only deepened her pain. Each word he spoke felt like a dagger to her heart. How could he? They were supposed to be married in a few weeks, starting a life together. How could he do this to her? The days that followed were a blur of pain and confusion. Rebecca couldn't believe that the man she had loved so deeply, the man she had been about to marry, was capable of such betrayal. She felt lost, like a ship adrift a storm with no compass to guide her. Of course, the wedding was called off. There was no way she could go through with it, not after what she had discovered. But the pain didn't stop there. It continued to eat away at her, gnawing at the edges of her sanity. In the midst of her heartbreak, Rebecca decided to get a health check-up. It was something she had always done regularly, but this time there was a gnawing fear in the pit of her stomach. When the results came back, the word she thought couldn't get any darker did. The doctor's words were calm, but they hit her like a sledgehammer. She was HIV positive. Rebecca felt like the ground had been ripped out from under her. This wasn't just a betrayal of love. This was a betrayal of her health, her future, her very life. Michael hadn't just destroyed her heart, he had destroyed her body too. The despair that had been bubbling inside her since she found out about his infidelity turned into something darker, something far more dangerous. At first, she was numb, moving through her days like a ghost. But as the initial shock wore off, it was replaced by a burning anger. How could Michael have done this to her? How could he have risked her life so carelessly? The love she had once felt for him twisted into something poisonous, and the pain she had carried with her transformed into a searing hatred, not just for Michael, but for all men. Rebecca was no longer the naive girl who had believed in fairy tales and happy endings. She was a woman scorned, a woman with nothing left to lose. The idea of revenge began to take root in her mind, growing stronger with each passing day. She knew she could never get back what Michael had taken from her, but she could make sure he and others like him paid for it. The transformation was slow. She started dressing differently, shedding her old self like a snake sheds its skin. Gone were the modest, soft clothes she had once worn. In their place were outfits that were bold, provocative, designed to attract and entice. She knew she was beautiful, and she began to use that beauty as a weapon. Men had destroyed her life, and now it was her turn. Rebecca, stop this. You are hurting people, hurting yourself. This isn't who you are. Sarah confronted Rebecca, but she laughed, a cold, meatless sound. You have no idea, she replied, pushing Sarah away. Rebecca began to frequent bars and clubs, places she had never gone to before. She was no longer looking for love. Love was a lie, an illusion. What she wanted now was control, power. She would find men, lure them in, and then she would strike. It started with small acts of vengeance, flirting with a man, leading him on, and then disappearing just as he thought he had won her over. But soon, it wasn't enough. The anger in her demanded more. She began to sleep with these men, knowing fully well what she was doing, knowing the destruction she was causing. Each encounter was a reminder of what had been taken from her, a twisted act of retribution. Her friends and family grew concerned, but she pushed them away. They couldn't understand her pain, her anger. Rebecca told herself that they deserved it, that they were no different from Michael, that they would have hurt her if she had given them the chance. But deep down, she knew she was lying to herself. The satisfaction she sought never came. Instead, the emptiness inside her grew, the darkness spreading like cancer. Despite the thrill of her revenge, Rebecca couldn't escape the nagging feeling that she was losing herself. The girl she had once been, the girl who had believed in love and happiness, was gone. In her place was someone unrecognizable, hollow, consumed by bitterness and anger. And yet, she couldn't stop. The cycle of revenge had become a part of her, a way to numb the pain that never truly went away. One evening, she met him, tall and handsome. He was different from others. He saw through her facade, sensing the pain and hurt beneath. "You are beautiful," Jack said, his voice low and husky. "But there is something more to you, something deeper." "Who are you?" he asked. For a moment, Rebecca felt a spark of doubt. She hesitated. Who am I? She asked herself. Was this truly who she wanted to be? Was this the legacy she wanted to leave? She asked herself. The battle between her desire for revenge and her longing for redemption had only just begun. Rebecca's journey was far from over. Would she find a way to break free from the cycle of hurt and hatred, or would her quest for vengeance consume her completely?